The Celtics Celebrity Series continues today with television personality, host, and producer Kristine Leahy. Kristine, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I have the newest little Celtics fan. Look at her.
Oh my gosh, so sweet. I know that's your new pug, Daisy.
Yeah,
Were you planning to get her before the quarantine started, or was this something that you just spurred the moment?
You know, I had a pug for almost 15 years, and she passed away last year. So I was getting ready, and the one that I was going to get, I couldn't get her probably until July. And then, you know, who knows if I'd be able to travel to get her. So I actually just like found her in LA, and I got her, and she's awesome, and a Celtics fan already.
I know, I love the little bandana. Daisy.
She knows what FaceTime is, but I think she wants to go eat now.
So sweet. I know that you obviously have been keeping busy with her, but I've also been keeping up with you, and it seems that you've been cooking a lot too.
Yeah.
How have you been spending your time?
Cooking a ton. I love to cook, and you know, when you're working constantly, there's not a ton of time for it, or when you get home you just want to like go watch a show. So I didn't get to cook as much as I like to, but now I am, and I feel like I'm expanding on what I was able to do. I think I'm a better baker than a chef. So I've been trying to up those skills too, making lots of bread like everybody across the country. Everyone.
Banana bread.
Yeah, I did banana bread early. I'm not a huge banana bread fan. I made cinnamon rolls. I made a rosemary focaccia the other day. So yeah, I'm trying to expand my repertoire, but I actually like kind of want to do a cooking show now because I cook so much.
Can you start it? I'll definitely tune in. I need help with cooking.
Sure.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, everyone keeps asking for the recipes. I'm like, okay. So I started posting recipes, and they get more traction than I would say anything else I do, aside from videos of Daisy. She's the number one star.
What's been your favorite thing to bake so far?
I would say the cinnamon rolls. I had never made them before. They're kind of daunting because if you mess up the dough, it's over, game over from the beginning. And then there's quite a process after that. So the cinnamon rolls I did, they turned out really good. I tried to make them like Cinnabon, and they were
Oh, those are the best. Those are
Yeah.
seriously the best.
Yeah.
Well, for those that don't know, my friendship pretty much started with you, Kristine, when I first got hired by the Boston Celtics, and you had reached out to me. You were so kind and supportive, just saying if I had any questions or needed help. But you pretty much started the position with the Boston Celtics as the team reporter and host. What was that process like for you, and how did you go about pitching it?
I have to pick her up. She's crying. Sorry. You know, so first of all, yeah, I tried to keep contact with everybody who is in your role or who is before you, because I was the first one, and I feel like, you know, it's just good to connect with you guys, and like if you do have any questions, or I think there was like clothing stuff that came up, just any little thing. So when I graduated, which I actually find this very interesting because now the economy is going to be in a bad place, right? So when I graduated from college, it was 2009, and the economy was really bad then too. So you had to get creative about approaching the job market. And I think a lot of people are going to have to do that again now. But I got an offer from the Celtics, and I was doing their in-arena hosting, not making a lot of money because, you know, it's just game night staff. And I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to turn it into something. And typically you have to move to like Iowa or somewhere in the middle of nowhere to get your start. But I really loved working with the Celtics, and I just saw such an opportunity there to kind of expand it. And we were traveling to Miami. I think it was the playoffs. And I saw that the Miami Heat had an in-house reporter, and they did a lot of online content. And I thought, okay, well, the Celtics should definitely be doing this. If one team is doing it, let's like kind of get ahead of the curve. And I also thought this is a good opportunity for the team to make money online because you can get things sponsored. So I actually, after one season doing the in-arena hosting, I put together a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh my gosh. I did not know this.
You didn't know this?
No.
Yeah. So I put together a PowerPoint presentation for Rich Gotham, and I asked, and for Sully, and I asked if I could have a meeting because I had an idea of a role that they should create, and I presented my PowerPoint presentation to them of why they should make this position. And they did. And, I'm so happy that it still exists to this day. And it's grown so much. And I get so excited seeing when you guys get like new sponsorships or new deals. It just makes me so happy because, it's continuing on. And the idea that I had, it seems to work. And I think a lot of things are doing it now. So I'm so proud. Yeah.
I know. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I always say to people too, if create something, you never know if you can also, show a company, okay, this is going to help you and you can make money from this. You can like pay for my salary and others by doing this and be ahead of the curve in that way. I try it out.
Well, you were there from 2010 to 2011. Yeah. What type of changes did you really start to see as the position grew?
Oh gosh. So it was, I think I was always pushing to kind of do more. I wanted to do more feature type things. We did a Celtics. Do you guys still do the Celtics Minute?
We do it, but it's in a different form now. So it's not hosted. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, it still exists. That makes me really happy. So we started the Celtics Minute. It was a daily video, like with Celtics updates really quick. And that got sponsored really fast. And then after that, I wanted to do something else. So I started doing like sit down features with some of the players, which gosh, then it was, I remember I did one with Delonte West, which was a great one. And then we did Avery Bradley. He was a rookie that year. Gosh, I think I did one with Doc Rivers when he was there. So it was just, we kind of expanded and did, different things. And it was all really experimental at that time. And every time something got sponsored, I was really happy because that meant that my role was worth it to the team.
Mm-hmm. I know you mentioned being really happy and really proud. What is that like for you, Kristine, to just see how the position has evolved now? I mean, pretty much traveling to almost every away game and just the volume of content and everything is sponsored now. What is that like for you to witness?
It makes me so proud. It really does. I don't know what better word to say because that was like, how many years ago is that now? Like 10, 11 years ago? And the fact that
crazy.
Yeah, it's just really cool. And that's why I like staying in touch with you and with the other women who have been in the role, just to make sure it stays alive and thriving. And it has, and you guys have all done a really good job with it. And, when I see a new Celtics feature come up, it makes me very happy. It's like, okay, cool. This is getting even bigger and better.
What was your favorite moment during your time with the Celtics?
I have a lot because that was a really cool time that I worked for the Celtics. We had Shaq on the team at one point, and Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, Kendrick Perkins. And it's so funny because now those guys all live in LA. And so I see them all and it's like reminiscing about old times. But that was a cool crew. I would say a few memories that stick out were I was interviewing Kevin Garnett, and as you know, he is a very loud personality, and he ripped the microphone out of my hands at a post-game interview and screamed something to the fans, and it's broadcast to everybody. So that was pretty cool, and just like a moment that will never go away. Mm-hmm. Then I really, really loved that interview with Delonte West. He's just a guy that has so much to him, and it's very sad what's been going on with him now, but I love getting to know the human aspects of people and what happens off the court. So that was a first for me to be able to do that. The playoffs, going to the playoffs every time, it was just playoffs against the Lakers. Those moments where I cried after a loss of the Celtics. I remember walking home from the Garden. I lived in the Navy Yard in Charlestown, and I was crying, and my parents called me, and I grew up a Bulls fan, but when I started working for the Celtics, I became a fan very quickly, and I still am.
Yeah, isn't that crazy after, working for the team and being surrounded by that? You really do kind of start to bleed green, and you feel that energy, how just different it is.
Yeah, I just really like the way that, and at the time that was my first experience with an NBA team, but since then I've obviously experienced a few others and just the league in general. And I really like the way the Celtics run as an organization, and they like to win, and they always have great storylines. And I just it's hard to not become a huge fan very quickly. And people used to ask me, well, how can you be a Celtics fan and a Bulls fan? And it's like, well, I just can. And I still am a Celtics fan.
Yeah.
Luckily the Bulls and Celtics haven't played in the playoffs too much lately, so it's not a problem. But it's just such a rich tradition in Boston, and I've always loved it.
Who was your favorite Celtics player to interview during your time there?
Oh gosh, during my time there, probably Garnett, because it was also a very rare interview, right? He did not give interviews. It was, he was quiet with the media. So that would just kind of made me very excited to do that. Shaq, when Shaq was there, gosh, he's just a walking soundbite. And Shaq and I have since become friends. It's so funny. And then now I would say I did an interview with Kendrick Perkins within the last year, and he has just done so well with himself in the media. So and he's a great interview. Paul Pierce, I know I'm listing all of them, but they were all just such big, legendary Celtics players.
I know I've talked to Mike Zarin, and he said that he still keeps in contact with you. Is there anyone else that you still keep in contact with at the organization?
Yeah, Marina, the dance coach.
Love Marina.
Yep, Marina and I still keep in touch. She's actually, I think, in LA, quarantining right now. So we'll keep in touch. I tried to convince her to go to a dance class with me here. She said it was you have to do it in high heels. She's like, that's not really a dance. That sounds bad, but it's like a hip hop class in heels. So she's like, I don't know if that's good for my feet. Who else? Mark D'Amico, I talk to sometimes. Sully, obviously. Rich Gotham and I have exchanged a few emails, and they're always so sweet when they reach out, or I reach out. They're very nice. They gave me tickets to a game last year. I think it was your home opener, actually.
Yeah, I remember seeing you there.
Yeah, it was against the Raptors, so I felt bad. I was like, this is a big game, but this is when I'm in town. And it was, Eddie Palladino, I keep in touch with him, and I saw him at that game. Deuce sometimes, he's the game ops. Gosh, I feel bad if I'm forgetting anybody. But yeah, a lot of the people still work there.
I know, that's awesome. And I think too, I mean, you mentioned just the Celtics in general, that it really has that family atmosphere.
Yeah.
I would say of how close you get with everybody.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things too that we've talked about in the past, that the Celtics is still one of your favorite jobs that you've ever had. In your mind, why does it stand out?
So I always say that. That was my first job, and still is one of my favorites, because it's just such a rich tradition in Boston, and creating something from the beginning was really cool for me. And being able to experiment and kind of do different things and see it be successful, that's a rare thing that you're able to do. And, you also get to travel the country and, learn about these different teams and immerse yourself in the NBA. And I love basketball. And unless you're really working in the NBA or for a network that only carries basketball, it's a rare opportunity to just be able to focus on that. I've had to focus on everything now. Where I really miss just working with basketball. But also I had so many friendships with the Celtics, and I remember after home games, we would all go, out after the game to dinner or something. And
the Fours.
Yeah, at the Fours, and it just at the top of the Fours, and it just felt like such a family, and I miss it all the time. I always say I'll go back and work in Boston one day. It was just really great. And, as you move on in your career, things definitely change, and get more difficult, or just different challenges. And the Celtics, it was just I always have very fond memories of that.
One thing I love about the position too is the fans and just how they love to consume all of the content. What makes Boston sports fans and just the Boston market in general so different from other markets that you've worked in?
They're the best. They're tough. They're tough. Sometimes, not gonna lie, they made me cry a few times because they will get on you if you mess up or if you say something that they don't like. But I also they know what they're talking about, and they respect you if you tell the truth and you know what you're talking about and you deliver them content and information that they're craving. And I know. So my first year when I was doing it, I was still kind of walking through the stands and doing competitions on the Jumbotron. It was before it was just the team reporter. And when I was walking through the crowd, I remember I started to know the season ticket holders and where they would sit, and they would know me, and we would be like, oh, hey, how was your weekend? You know, and I just felt like I started to really get to know the fans. And then online, it was the same thing in the comments and in their interaction. They really, really want all the content that they can get. And Celtics fans they do bleed green.
From afar, Kristine, what were your impressions of this current Celtics team this season with the addition of Kemba Walker?
I was really excited about Kemba Walker. It was a very interesting off season for you guys, not going to lie. So I was interested to see what was going to happen. And with Gordon Hayward too, being able to come back, I was excited to see what was going to happen. It's kind of a bummer the way that the season has played out, but I also sometimes I hope maybe this will give players more time to get healthy and regroup, and they'll be more energetic about a season starting whenever it does.
I want to shift more to your career as a whole now, and I really look at you as someone, Kristine, that's paved the way for women in sports and has really made a name for herself. What steps did you take to get to where you are today?
Well, I really take that seriously, what you just said about being a voice for women and an example for women. And it is hard in this business, and it got hard. I would love to say it got easier as I progressed, but it got harder. With the Celtics, that role, because I knew I wanted it and I wanted to create it, that's just my personality. I will just start something, or I will do something that I feel passionate about. So, gosh, your question was, I'm getting distracted. Your question was just about building my career as a woman.
Yeah, and just kind of the steps that you took after the Celtics position and, just where you are today and how you've made such a big name for yourself.
So after the Celtics, I did that for 2 years and I really loved it. And, in retrospect, I wish I would have done it longer. But I got an offer from Fox, and it was to be on TV. And at the time, TV was everything and online wasn't as big. Whereas now I think it's definitely reversed. So I had to jump on that offer to work at Fox in Boston. And then I covered the Celtics as an outsider, which was hard. It was really hard. I really didn't like it. Yeah, well, because first of all, I didn't have the same access. I mean, they were great and they were really nice to me and helped me out with what I needed. But, if there was a story that was a little controversial, it hurt a little, but I had to do it as a journalist.
Because you were probably thinking too, like, oh, you're so used to that PR, like, okay, we need to spin it this way. But then now it's a completely different avenue.
Exactly. I couldn't go soft on the Celtics anymore. So then I got 2 job offers after a year. One was to be a reporter in DC, and another was to go to LA. And the station that I wound up working for had the Lakers games. So that was like, because they're the rival. As a Celtics fan, you don't like the Lakers. And I will never forget, actually, I think like a month or 2 in, I was at Staples Center covering a Laker game, and Kobe walked up to me in the back and he was like, oh, you normally wear green, don't you? And I was like, oh, wow, he knows. Like, he really paid attention.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he knew. So that was just kind of interesting. But so I worked for CBS and KCAL in LA. I started doing some national work right away with them, with college football, college basketball, March Madness. That was interesting for me to do March Madness, because I was like, okay, these are the guys before they get to the NBA. Now I'm going to get to know them on this level, which was cool. And then I got an offer for American Ninja Warrior on NBC. And because that was on NBC and CBS was CBS, CBS wasn't okay with me doing both networks. So I had to take a big risk and just do Ninja Warrior. And then within a couple months, I was working at Fox Sports. And there I feel like I really found my voice. I was able to just talk and be me, on the show with Colin Cowherd. And then I kind of outgrew that role after a few years and had my own show on Fox, where I interview people. And that's really my passion is interviewing people and getting to the root of who they are. So it's been kind of it's weird to look back and think it's been 11, 12 years I've been in the business. But I'm proud of what I've done. I have more to come. And I definitely take it seriously to be as much of a role model for women as possible. I always stand up for women. I think there needs to be more of us in the business. There needs to be more of us at the top of the business, hiring additional women.
Yeah, on that topic of women in sports, how important do you think it is to kind of have that community of women to lean on and just network and ask for advice? I know that you've been a sounding board for me, and that's been so helpful in my career as well.
Yeah. I always want to do that. So when women reach out to me, which they do a lot, I am so happy to help them, because I think if I can give you some knowledge that I have from, where I was at your age, or not that I'm not that much older than you, but if I can help, I think that just helps us all be stronger and work together. Because there's so few women in the business, there's a tendency to be competitive.
Yeah.
Which means that we're not supportive of each other. And listen, the guys out there aren't all supporting each other either. They're very competitive too. But it's just about standing up for what's right as a woman in this business. And oftentimes I don't think that happens. So if we can all kind of work together and educate each other and stand up for each other in that way, that's really one of the only ways to make progress.
No, I love that. I love that. And I mean, looking, at your show, you've interviewed just some of the top athletes in the world. Is there a career moment that you look back on and think, wow, I did it? I know you're such a hard worker and you're always wanting, to do more, but has there been one of those moments for you?
There's a couple. The one, it's probably surprising because it was a very long time ago, is actually when I was working for the Celtics. We were in Chicago playing the Bulls. And I remember walking into the United Center past the Michael Jordan statue, and I had a press pass on. And for me, that was a huge moment. Even though it was early in my career, it was still like, wow, I used to come to these games, Daisy. I used to come to these games as a fan to watch Michael Jordan. And here I am walking in with a press pass, and I'm actually working at this game. So that was a huge, huge moment for me. I think another one too was, when I was interviewing Dwight Howard, that was pretty big, because he talked to me about some things that he hadn't talked to anyone else before. And he felt comfortable opening up to me about that. And that was always my goal, is that I wanted to be a show where people felt comfortable coming to me and that they trusted me to handle certain information. That was my hands down number one goal on the show. And when Dwight did that, I was like, wow, and he asked to come on. So that was huge for me. With Shaq coming on the show, and we did, the 3 minutes of Shaq's history in 3 minutes. That was a fun one too. I've had a few, but it's mostly when someone really, really opens up in an interview and tells me something that they haven't said to anybody else. That makes me feel like I'm doing the job I really wanted to do, and that they're trusting me with how I can handle and deliver that information.
Yeah. What would you say, you mentioned Dwight Howard really opening up to you. What would you say is your interview style? I know everyone is unique, but how do you kind of go about prepping for that and then just kind of creating that relationship?
Well, the most important thing is to know everything you can about the person you're going to interview. And just one of the biggest things too was, sorry, Daisy is really, she's in her puppy teething phase. It's to understand their mood and their tone. So I would know everything I could possibly about them, but then I would have, luckily I had producers on my show, and so they would go and meet the guest and kind of come tell me, hey, this is how they're feeling, this is the mood they're in, this is what they want to talk about. So I could go into it with a heads up, and really be able to kind of get into their mind space. And I would interview them just very naturally. I wanted to just have a conversation. I didn't want them to feel like it was going to be a gotcha moment. It was supposed to be just very natural. And I truly care. I'm never looking to get the sparky headline. It happens when they feel comfortable talking to me. And I really, really want to know their story. I'm not just there to make money. I really want to know about them. And I think they feel that. And so that makes it so that they feel comfortable kind of just talking to me as a person. I'm not out to get them in any way.
Well, I know that with being in just such a prominent position and being in the spotlight, there is so much pressure a lot of times, I think, getting into the industry of I need to be perfect, right? Like I need to do everything a certain way. Did you ever experience nerves or anxiety? And if so, how did you work through that?
I was lucky. I have this weird thing where I don't get nervous. It's very weird. And
sometimes tell me your ways.
Sometimes I think it's a bad thing that I don't get nervous because I think a certain level of adrenaline is good. And even if you talk to athletes, they'll tell you that they get nervous. So I was feeling like, what's wrong with me? I should be getting this way. I got nervous actually. It wasn't the first episode of, sorry about that. It wasn't the first episode that aired of my show, but it wasn't the first episode I shot, but it was the first episode that aired. And it was with Ray Rice. And it was a very meaningful interview for me, just because of things that I had been through.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And because it was a very serious topic and I wanted to ask him some serious, hard questions. And I knew it was going to be the first episode that aired. And I was nervous. I was really nervous. And I was also opening up about some personal things about me too. So I think that was just different. But you kind of just go through it and you work it out. And every time I've thought I may be a little nervous, it actually comes out good on air. So it's okay. I'm like, it's all right if I'm nervous. Because I think that adrenaline just helps you.
Right. Jumpstart it right when the camera goes on.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know in this business as well, and we've talked about it in the past, just the sacrifices that has to be made in terms of you spend so much time prepping, studying, and building those relationships. What advice would you give to young broadcasters that are just starting out in their career?
About the sacrifices they'll have to make?
Yeah, and just kind of the journey, as a whole of the how much hard work and how much of the time commitment it really is.
It is. You have to love what you do. And I would say at the beginning, it's extremely hard because you have to just be willing to do anything to make it work, like work those extra hours, go above and beyond what you're being paid for, what your title is. Make yourself useful and valuable, especially right now when I think people are there's so many layoffs and you can keep certain people on your staff. You have to work really, really hard and make it so that they need you there. They can't afford to lose you. So in the beginning, that really is how it is. And you have to, I was even with the Celtics. I was trying to think of ways we could get sponsored and video elements that we could do. And I would go sit with the editor and I would edit myself, or I would sit there on days that we didn't have much to do. I would watch I found folders in my Celtics computer. I would find little folders of videos from years and years before, and I would watch them because I felt like I needed to learn the history a little bit better. So just be willing to kind of go that extra mile. And realize that it is a tough business whenever you're putting yourself out there for everyone to kind of see and judge. It can be tough at times, but just stay true to yourself if you can, because at the end of the day, that's all you can do. And so who cares if someone says something bad about you? My rule is always, if I don't know you and respect you, or I don't love you and you're not my family, I don't care what you say. I can't let every little comment or critique get to me. And then, over time with your career, depending on how it goes, I always tried to work towards a level where my schedule would become a little bit more normal, where it wasn't always nights and weekends, because that is a tough thing. As a sports journalist, you typically you're done with that. Weddings not happening, birthdays.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I can't go, or
yeah, it happens. But I worked in my career towards the point where I could be a little bit more in control of my schedule. That was always a goal of mine because I like to have a good work and social life balance.
Mm-hmm. Well, Kristine, before I let you go, when this is all over with, when quarantine is over, what projects or upcoming projects do you have coming up?
So everything is shut down right now. So it's hard to say. I had a couple things in the works before this had happened. And so that's taking a little bit of a pause. But I'm just kind of using this time to figure out how I want to be creatively moving forward, and a new project I want to actually needed a break after the last one, to be honest, to just reset and feel like what felt good to me. And so I'm excited for when this is over. I think it's going to all look very different. I really do. So it's kind of just figuring out what that's going to be and what's the best way, and what kind of content now are people going to be looking for.
Right. I know so much is going to change. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to think like, okay, if I'm doing an interview with someone, are we 6 feet apart? Is the camera crew 6 feet behind me? Are we wearing masks? It's going to be very different. So I think it's hard to plan too much going forward, because we don't know yet what it's going to be like. And I always think that, like, right now people are very stressed because you just don't know what the future is. You can't plan, and that creates a lot of anxiety. But I've kind of been practicing for this my whole life. Like, nothing is certain. So you kind of have to take things day by day.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the future holds for you. And I appreciate your time as always. And
so good to talk to you always.
I know. And I'll say goodbye to Daisy too, if she's
hold on. She's chewing a bone now.
She's sleeping. You probably don't want to wake her up.
No,
bye, Daisy.
Busy with a bone. Still wearing the Celtics.
Love it. Always repping. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Amanda. It's good to see you.
You too. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.